Hi there, and welcome to the Journal Nest. This is Kate from Australia saying hi. Thank you for joining me today, and I need to tell you that I'm having to really gather my thoughts and my courage this afternoon, as it is afternoon in Australia. I have shared with many of you already my journaling journey, which it sounds like too many J's, but it gives me joy. Um, and I Today I'm going to take the next bold step because, as well as journaling, I do love sewing and stitching, and inspired by Rachel and Sarah from Roxy Creations, um, as well as itching to journal, and now I'm itching to stitch. So welcome to Kate's first ever filmed video of Kate's itching to stitch. So similarly to my journal work, I like to gather things and find my inspiration, and I'm hoping you'll stay with me on this journey because I want to share something that's, I think, equally creative and goes with our junk journaling. So I make journal cards and I love adding layers and texture. I have recently started this journal, which is a hardcover, and I do have some stitching, and I've had some requests about sharing the stitching and how I do that, so that's coming up on video soon. But the covers I like, well, on this one I've done machine stitching, but I always like, when this will be finished, I need to have a pocket to hold treasures in the front. So that's what I thought we'd work on today together, a little bit of a stitching for a treasure pocket. The other thing that I like to do with journals is either make a detachable cover like this one. I upcycle doilies. You'll see a lot of this embroidery in my work. So that is something that still needs some work on. And let's have a look in the nest, because I like to point out some basic essentials, not essentials, but things that for me, I find that I gather together. So I'm an op shop addict, and I love collecting embroideries that somehow didn't get finished, that there's a story behind each of these embroideries, and see if I can make some new life out of them. So that's one that we might use as a main piece this afternoon. I rescue bits of, and I have to say, I haven't done a sewing course as such, not since school, so I don't know the names of all these bits and pieces, but I gather those. This is a bit of the typewriting text on fabric that I'm using in the Harmony and Counterpoint journal. So I'd like to use a little bit of that. This is Australian blanket, merino wool, but picked up from Vinnie's for the most incredibly cheap price for a queen size blanket. So I base a lot of my covers on either this or wadding, which I haven't got here. I thought I'd share with you some works in progress. But another part of my basic kit is pre-loved crochet cotton that I pick up from the Sewing Basket in Sydney. A whole lot of these, Rachel and Wynette and lots of other people go there. So these colours go with my journaling colours, so we'll have a look at that. I love collecting similarly vintage buttons, and this is a lovely joy for me, just having a look at what's inside, and these will go on my pouches. So these pouches end up holding my journals usually. So there may be a cover and then a pouch within this. This is sort of not done, but making progress. All scraps, all upcycled and put on randomly. Just like my journaling technique, I'm not neat. I love ends. Of course, this one's got probably a few, yeah, it has to be fixed up, but I love the free and creative stitching. And this is a large one. In fact, this cover here, It's got all little bits and pieces, but actually may end up being the home of Harmony and Counterpoint. So the finished product. These signatures aren't sewn in, of course, so forgive me. But at the right time and place, it is likely that we would open this, come across this, and then pull it out. I would probably crochet around the edge and have a button. So that's in the nest. I'm going to be brave and I'm going to try and stitch live, oh my goodness, and start a little pouch. Okay, so let's move. I don't know if I need all of those things. It's a bit different to my pieces of paper. Okay, I am thinking that together we might, let's take these signatures out for the moment, start to think about the pockets that could go inside here. And I mentioned a little treasure. So I'm thinking this is beautiful linen, a set of placemats that were never finished. And I'd like to use this as the basis of a pocket that goes along here. This says time 106, and I love that this actually, I don't know whether you'll be able to read this or not, but this even says where it was bought from: the Stitchery, White House Arcade, Sydney, pure linen. So I think that's a treasure within a treasure. So I'm a tearer and not a cutter as much as I can help it. So let's just use this. Now you'll see that Kate's not very strong, but she'll grimace. Oh, get to the end. This has got something waxy on the end. Much easier to tear the paper that I work on. All right. So my little envelopes that I call treasure envelopes are basically a little tiny fold, and it's going to be too big for here. Let's get it in proportion because I'd like time to be seen, which means I have to sacrifice some of this wording and even the Sydney bit. Because this might fly away to another country, I wouldn't mind keeping Sydney. Okay, let's see if we can look at the proportion. Okay, there we are. So again, just rough. Oh, I'm off camera because it's taking all my strength. Oh my goodness. Oh, I know why, because I'm tearing against the grain. I think that's what it's called. So we might have to just cut. Oh no, there we go. Right. Okay, now let's get it right. Sydney, there we are. Okay, so while I machine stitch on material, I machine stitch on paper, I love hand stitching on fabric. And I've been, as I said, very inspired by the girls, and I've also been watching a lot of Fleur Woods from New Zealand, and I just think there is so much goodness and well-being to be had. Okay, so let's whip up a tiny little envelope. We're going to, don't know whether I can show you that I'm doing a quilter's knot here. I think that's what they're called. At the end, I left too much on it. So I hope everyone's well. In fact, I've been so, see, you can tell me I'm a little nervous because I haven't even asked you how you're feeling today. Hope things are going well for you in your world. Just looking at this. So I'm using at this moment, I'm using a very similar coloured wool thread, and I'm literally just going to do a running stitch all the way around. So even for Kate, that's too many. Too many. Yep. So the stitches, as wonky and as big as they are, become a treasure and enough to hold it together. So just around here. I would really love to hear how many of you combine junk journaling with some other creative pursuit. Do you paint, draw, sew, machine sew, quilt? I had the absolute joy again today of going out to the Green Door Studios in Robertson, New South Wales, Australia, with the amazing Zoe. And she just opens her studio Tuesdays and Wednesdays once a month, and we go out there and we bring whatever project we're working on. So it is the most joyful and soul-filling thing that I have discovered. And I've recently finished, well, I still work, but I have the freedom in the daytime, particular days of the week, to actually go out there, and I look forward to it so much, because it's almost like we're called to do that. We sit engrossed in our projects, but also just sharing. It's almost like, well, again, I probably would say it's community, and I was reminded of that word commune, which means, you know, to gather together and be together. So it was truly a joy. And I was just thinking of, you know, we had people knitting, crocheting, quilting, making, I think they're called hexes, are they? Hexagon things. A lady was sketching, cross-stitching. Zoe in the background was even painting some stools that she's picked up recently as a bargain, like upcycling. And so she was zipping off between her stitching to give them another coat. All right, so I've got an idea. So I could easily keep going up and around, but I'm just wondering whether I want a little bit of more color up there, which I think I will. And I had the idea about that little bit of type text. So that's what I'm thinking. So I'm sure so many of you are much better at stitching than I. I'm returning right now after an absence of quite a number of years, and that's why I said I'm itching to stitch, because I've just been surrounded by makers who are just finding, I'm just leaving that out because it will be stitched, glued down there. Okay, can Kate manage two things at once? I might actually take quite an extreme action of pinning that on there. And so those of you who know my work and style, I absolutely love this idea of raw edges and fraying, symbolic of life in many ways. Okay, now let's see. I'll just do a knot over here. You probably can't see it, which is a good thing, because I'm just copying. I see that Sarah can make amazing good knots. Okay, come in from the back into there. And see boo-boo number 1. Let's start again, because I actually want to see my stitching on top to make sure that I've got 2, 3. Oh, there we go. All right, so you can be yelling out at me in the background. Where do I have to start? I want to come down here, round here, and round here. Okay, how about that? So in this case, we will start on the back. It is so soothing to do stitches in and out like that. People have been doing for all time. I'm going to sneeze again down here. Due apologies, I get a little bit of hay fever from the blossoms out my window. It's a little bit windy today. I had a wonderful subby share with me that she's making a gift and was crafting alongside me in I think it was yesterday, and that just absolutely gave me the tingles. I thought, that's really my dream. This is not about me. This is about just embracing all the things that we can do and make, and do it together. Okay, so you can see my stitches are not even, or not even in a row, but for me that adds to that handmade look. Okay, so we'll quickly go down here. I find I love using these holes that are already made because I've done too big a stitch then, but that's okay. Just saves all the work. And now I'm sort of doing a back stitch to fill them in a bit more. One more. Okay, and then under. I'll actually finish this under here to secure it, the corner. Now, many of you who are beautiful sewers will go, that's so messy, and I don't do it that way, and I understand. As I said, for me, this is about raw, imperfect, and I'm just thinking whether I need to do another row along there, or I could do some little daisies. Now, this is because I like you all so much, and I'm feeling so encouraged that I'm going to try and do something that I don't know very well in public. And that's to make a little daisy. Basic stitches. And half of them I won't even know the name of, but this will just secure it down. You probably can't see. A friend of mine was reminding that flowers always have to have an uneven number of petals. So there's 3. This is 4. And 1 more, which makes it look not perfect. It's going to go down the end, down the bottom there. Have I done? Yeah, and I want 1 more. My light's probably not good, you probably can't see my stitches, but please bear with me as I learn. I promise I'll get better, and as I said, just trying to be brave. And I'm just going to finish this off through the typeset, whatever it's called. Tie that off. Okay, so there's a tiny little envelope. Let's give a bit of a trim. The significance of the word Sydney will only make sense to the person who receives. Okay, now I've been very organized. I would have had a little gold safety pin ready to go in there. Oh, I don't think I have one. Got a little peg. Okay, so for the moment, oh, I could try and put a button, but then I'd have to crash up. Okay, so you'll see this as this journal continues, but it will have a safety pin, a couple of the treasures that I like to put in, some butterflies, and I've decided to be really bold with you, and let's finish the task. I'm going to have a little bit of fabric glue here, and come on a brush. Oh, goodness me. No, that brush is no good. Okay, everybody, I'm not going to stitch anymore, so I'm going to actually apply this with the brush, but I'm going to have to spread it out with my fingers. Or actually, let's pray for the best. I know that looks like a lot, but fabric needs that. And I've just remembered something. And I wanted that to be a tuck. Do you get your fingers messy? I have resisted, but now I've been seeing a few makers just getting in with the old-fashioned fingers. So that's what you're witnessing out of necessity. Okay, so here we go. We're going to tuck, 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 a bit higher. A little baby envelope in there. No, I'm going to sacrifice. That can be a top tuck because I like seeing all of the envelope. There we go. Just for the moment, a little bit. No, I don't need to do that. I'll think about buttons next time. Okay, not sure how long I've done this, but always the first time for filming, but let's see if we can recap. put something back together. So into Kate start. Okay, here we go. So the idea is that we will have this journal, signatures full, envelopes will open up. This will be closed. These will be over in here, of course. And the first experience of opening the journal will be, oh, I wonder what's in here. And so we'll open up and have some treasures. I could have made that a pocket behind. Maybe I should have, but you'll understand why I didn't. So that could go as well. It's going to keep hatching that journal. We're going to imagine that it will live in a pouch like that, and that's probably a good start, I hope. I am wishing I'd tuck that in there, but anyway, I'll think about that. I think that's enough. Thank you so much for joining me. I have lots of stitching projects actually on the boil, and they all, I'm evolving in my use of colour and stitching. So as I said, this is Kate's very first Itching to Stitch, and thank you for joining me. I hope that you have a great rest of the day, and I hope you'll join me for next time. Please, I'd really like to be encouraged to keep stitching with you. Okay, this is Kate from Australia at the Journal Nest saying bye. Bye.